To the meeting of the Planning Commission for the City of Green Bay, Monday, November 2nd, 2020, 6 p.m. We'll start with a roll call. Lisa Hanson, Chair, present. Vice Chair Jacob Miller.
Present.
Alder Veronica Kortestaff. She did message that she might be a little bit late, so hopefully she'll join us. Commissioner Cindy Brummer.
Present.
Commissioner Randall Petrowski. Is Commissioner Petrowski with us? Okay, I guess moving on. Commissioner Darius Daniels.
Present.
Commissioner Autumn Linsmeyer.
Present.
Okay. All right, moving on to the approval of the agenda. Approval of the agenda for the November 2nd, 2020 meeting of the Green Bay Plan Commission. The chair would entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
You got that. That's Vice Chair Miller that gave me the motion, and then a second by Commissioner Brummer. All in favor?
Yes,
Commissioner Daniels. He beat me.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? And then approval of the minutes from the October 12th, 2020 meeting of the Green Bay Plan Commission.
This is Commissioner Brummer. I would like to move approval, but with two changes. Autumn Linsmeyer was with us for, I think, your first meeting, Autumn, and she's listed as in attendance, but she is not listed as one of the members of the commission. So I would like that to be corrected. And then under item 10, in the 5th paragraph, I had offered a motion to table the motion to approve that was then before the Plan Commission, and it was explained. It was not explained. Okay, a motion to table takes precedence over the other motion that would have been before us, but in this case, that was the reason given for my withdrawal of the motion, and that is not correct. I withdrew the motion because it was explained that this item must be approved by the Plan Commission before it can be considered by the Zoning and Planning Board of Appeals. So the minutes should be corrected to show that version of why the motion was withdrawn and what the explanation was. With those changes, I would move to approve.
Okay, do we have a second?
Yeah, second.
Okay, so a motion by Commissioner Brummer and a second by Chair Miller with some corrections. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and that is approved. On to regular business. Consideration with possible action on communication from Alder Barb Dorff to estimate potential costs and benefits of proposed Grand View development from June 29th, 2020 council meeting.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So this has been a little while coming to you, but I guess I can give a little bit of history. And I don't know, Paul, if you could put up the PowerPoint to give you a little background. And you can actually go to the second slide for this item if you want. That one. Yep. So the image on your right is a exhibit from a planned unit development that was originally developed in 2015 for what's called a traditional neighborhood design, or some people call it neo-traditional neighborhood. So it's generally a development area that's large, in this case about 240 acres, and holds multiple different land uses, pedestrian bicycle connections, and it kind of recreates what a traditional neighborhood would be. So, you know, neo-traditional. So this was adopted in 2015. It was amended in 2018. There have been issues with the ability to execute the planned unit development for multiple reasons. There's multiple owners involved, and that has been a source of some issues. Also, the policy of having to install, in this case, stormwater detention facilities for an area-wide development. So if you notice on that map, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, basically 6 to 7 detention basins or detention ponds on the map. I'll move this over so I can see it too. On the map itself. So typically those would have to be developed prior to any improvements or developments or lots being created for that to take place. That was found to be an issue in 2018, and so it was amended to allow phasing, so you could do a portion of the planned development and phase in the ponds, and then, so you don't have to do them all at once, right? That also has been problematic, mainly because of the multiple ownership of the cost of putting in the ponds and some of the timing issues. Alderman Dorff had sent this to the Plan Commission as a communication that basically estimated the value of the development and also the cost of infrastructure in July. So that came to planning staff, and Paul, if you can go back one slide, please. Okay, so what we had done is basically two things. So the first thing is we kind of dug into the property, and what you see on these slides is the existing development out there. You can see it's mainly farm fields. There is one senior living community that was developed, and where the arrow is pointing right now. And on the bottom is the underlying zoning. So that black line is traditional neighborhood planned unit development. The underlying zoning is primarily low-density residential, which is the darker yellow, and rural residential, which is the lighter yellow. So that's the underlying zoning. This area is north of Finger Road, east of Erie Road, and again, it's about 240 acres. It's a very large portion of the city. So the total value out there right now for that acreage is a little, about $10.5 million. So as you can see here, the taxes that are generated on the property itself is about $255,000, of which the city receives about $100,000. So that's your existing current conditions. And if you go to the next slide, Paul, I can kind of explain at full build-out. There we go. So on the right-hand side, as I mentioned, you see multiple land uses there, the senior living, some multifamily, single-family, and commercial uses, mixed uses. And what we did as staff is we projected out at full build-out. Now, obviously, it's not going to all appear in 1 second, but at full build-out, what the values would be. So if you'll notice, the table has the same. We did it by parcel. We used what's arguably a low valuation on a home. We used $250,000 for a home. We used $180,000 for a townhome and $90,000 for a condominium unit. Now those may not be accurate, but they're a pretty good estimation. And to give you an example, in 2015, the values were $200,000 for a home, $140,000 for a townhome, and $80,000 for a condo. So we increased the values. But what we came up with, we also used examples for the multifamily. So we used apartment building in, actually you should kind of be familiar with it, Parkway Highlands. You just saw that PUD section was removed from that. We used one of the apartment buildings that went in there as a valuation, found value per acre and then extrapolated that onto this area. Now, obviously, this is not 100% science, but it gives us that estimation that Barb was looking, or that Alderman Dorff was looking for. So, at full build-out, the estimated change in value would be an increase of $166 million. Of that, the city would receive $1.67 million a year in tax revenue. That would be for the city itself, much more for, the whole taxing entities. But so we kind of figured that out. And we looked at the plan unit development. We talked with the, the manager for the consortium. She might have a different title, but part owner and manager for the consortium of owners out there, and talked about the zoning and some of her issues and their issues. Again, the primary issue is the upfront cost to put in the stormwater detention, even as a phased approach. So obviously, community development and planning staff, we don't install ponds, we don't set policies to create ponds, but the general policy is a developer will put them in and have to pay at that time, for them to go in. The value or the cost of those would have to be spread out amongst the lots and the buyers to kind of so they can recover their costs. That because of the multiple owners and the large area and the complexity of the project, the petitioner or I don't know what to call her, but the managing partner, I'll use that term, says that it's infeasible to be able to put those ponds in advance, even in a phased-in approach. And she would prefer that they go in and that they have a deferred assessment. So that the city would bond the money to put them in and then assess the properties as they get subdivided or developed, if they're not being subdivided. And that way the city would recapture their investment in the ponds and the development could proceed. So when we did a little bit of research, this went to the Improvement and Services Committee in February. And basically what they had done is ask what type of value is going to be created from this development. Because that is not a current policy of the city to do that, to do the deferred assessment. And so that's really what we in community development had done is we got the values, the estimates, and really the recommendation now is to refer this back to staff. For one, I guess to add a little bit to that, we talked about possibly just removing the entire zoning, removing that traditional neighborhood PUD, and just going back to the regular R1 and starting over that way. The managing partner and staff, neither of us want to see that PUD go away. It was well done at the time, very collaborative. There were multiple neighborhood meetings. It would really be a boon for the east side. So staff would not recommend removing the planned unit development, although that may be a request by the managing partner if other alternatives to get that stormwater in place does not come to fruition. So basically what we're recommending is not to remove the planning or the zoning on the property, leave it, and refer this item back to staff. And when I say staff, that would be not just community development, but it would go to public works to bring back to INF. So they have the data that they requested as far as valuations, and they can determine if city policy should be augmented or at least make a recommendation to the council in regard to stormwater and improvement. So, there you go.
Thank you, David. So basically we're looking, the recommendation on the agenda is to receive and place on file. Is that still what you're recommending?
No, that is actually a mistake, and that's why I said it would be not change the zoning and refer to staff.
Right, okay.
I apologize for the mistake in the report.
Okay. So the recommendation is to not change the zoning, and refer to staff.
Correct.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Bremer, a second by Commissioner Linsmeyer. Is there any further discussion among the commission? Okay. Go ahead and do a roll call vote. Vice Chair Miller?
Aye.
Is Alder Corpus Dax with us? She hasn't made it with us yet. Commissioner Bremer?
Aye.
Has Commissioner Petrowski made it?
I have. I apologize for the delay, and I vote aye.
That's all right. Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Daniels?
Aye.
Commissioner Linsmeyer?
She did say aye.
Yeah, I was looking down at the time. And I will also vote in agreement with that. So unanimously end of this. So it just goes back to staff then. Correct, David?
You cut out.
Oh, I'm sorry. So this just goes back to staff.
It does go back to staff. It would, it'll be reported to the council on the plan commission report, and presumably will, at Public Works, will go to INS.
Okay. And when is the next city council meeting?
The next city council meeting is
November
the 10th, November 10th.
All right, November. Okay. All right, moving on to agenda item number 2, consideration with possible action on communication from Alder Veronica Corpus Dax to refer to staff to look at regulations regarding the current zoning code and drive-through or pickup lanes and the necessity of bypass lanes and or menu boards.
Yes, this one is a refer to staff for review and report.
Okay.
So moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Petrowski. Any further discussion among the commission?
Second if you need it.
Thank you, Vice Chair Miller. So a motion by Commissioner Petrowski, second by Vice Chair Miller. Go ahead and do a roll call vote. Vice Chair Miller?
Aye.
Commissioner Bremer?
Aye.
Commissioner Petrowski?
Aye.
Commissioner Daniels?
Aye, and I'm just assuming this is just to gain more information, correct? Sorry, I was going to ask that earlier.
Correct. This is obviously, probably a response to a previous application, made its way through council, and that is probably what generated the request. So staff will take a look at our code, we'll look at other codes and best practice, and report back on a recommendation to or not to amend.
Thank you. Aye.
And Commissioner Linsmeyer?
Aye.
Now I'll also vote in aye. So that's going to be referred to, or receive and place on file, sorry. And I'm guessing that probably has to do with something from our last meeting as well, with the pickup and the bypass lanes. So, all right, so that's on City Council, November 10th.
Yep, and that's actually a refer to staff.
Oh, sorry, you're right.
Right.
And number 3, reconsideration with possible action on the request to authorize a conditional use permit for a material recovery facility, including auto and metal salvage operation at 1156 Velp Avenue, submitted by Burroughs Midwest LLC, doing business as Midwest Scrap Metal property owner.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So this one you should be pretty familiar with. And if we can go to the PowerPoint, Paul, I'll run through some quick slides. So what you received in your packet is basically the original staff report, well, that was amended, and some communication. And I'm just going to go over the timeline for this item. So it came first to the Plan Commission on August 31st. That was postponed by the PC for additional information. That information was brought back on September 28th. It was postponed due to some scheduling conflicts with the applicant or the petitioner. So it came back to the Planning Commission on October 12th with quite a bit of discussion, and there was a recommendation of approval with conditions, and I'll get to those in a bit. Then that was, Planning Commission report and resolution was forwarded to the Common Council on October 20th. The council received a communication, a late communication from a constituent, a city constituent, that could not make it onto the council agenda because of the timing. So they had asked staff if it was relevant information. Staff felt that it was, and so they referred it back to the Plan Commission to look at that information, and that is why we're here today on November 2nd. So fourth time in front of the Planning Commission. What you received in your packet was basically the original staff report and that late communication from the constituent. And I do want to make a point as well, is we received another communication, was emailed Friday afternoon. It was received this morning, and that is not in your packet. However, I'm going to try to summarize it, and it will be going on to council if you forward this back to council. But I will summarize it as I go through. But just to give everybody a refresher, you want to start going through the slides, Paul? I'll go fast. So this is the site itself on Velp Avenue, the corner of Winford and Velp. Zone general, most of it is zone general industrial with some commercial along Velp Avenue. This is the future land use plan. Shows industrial on the far northern side, commercial on the southern side, also part of the Velp Avenue redevelopment plan, which shows basically the same. This is the zoning. You can see again, you have some commercial along Velp, but the rest is the general industrial zoning. This is the site plan that was submitted with the conditional use permit application, which is, again, to go from a material recovery center to a salvage yard, auto and salvage yard, and expo. These were the recommendations that came out of the Plan Commission, these 8 recommendations. Basically, and I'll summarize them, but I'll go through them quick. The first one was to leave the frontage, about 1 acre of the frontage, for commercial use and not have the salvage use on there. Have all the improvements in that area be removed. There's old paving, there's old foundations, that kind of thing in that area be removed and returned to vegetative cover. Unused curb cuts be removed and replaced. Add a landscape buffer or vegetative screen along the new fence line. That there be no drop-off or pickup or other business outside of their operations, and also on Sunday, which were included in their application packet. That the area prohibited for salvage uses, again from 1, be brought forward for a zone change request from general industrial to commercial to meet with those plans. And that all conditions shall be in place prior to the establishment or occupancy of the auto salvage or scrapyard use. So what we received, what the council received before their meeting on the 20th, and we did receive another copy of the same photograph Friday, or I received it this morning, were pictures that of the site showing automobiles and other retail salvage items on the site. And the photos were, or the letter that was submitted said those photos were taken the day after the Plan Commission meeting. So that letter and those photos are attached into your packet. So I won't summarize that letter. So what we did after that, we had sent a inspector out there middle September, I believe it was September 9th or September 10th. They had not found any violations. They found that they were meeting their site plan. So we sent another inspector out and the zoning administrator out on November 6th after the council. Again, they did not see any violations of their existing site plan, nor violations of potential CUP. And I guess if you can go back one more, Paul, please. So these are some pictures from outside of the site, again taken by the zoning administrator, I believe, of the site itself in operation on November 6th. So these are from the outside looking in, and if you want to go to the next one, Paul. These are within the site. So we did contact the petitioner, we did get into the site itself. And so they did kind of walk the site and looked around on the interior because it is fenced off. They did not find any violations. So at this time, our complaint, we took that letter as a complaint. It's going through our inspection division, but I believe it's to be closed at this time. So those were kind of the photographs of our investigation after the fact, that the council got the letter that's in your packet. What I received today was basically the same type of a letter that you have in your packet, and I'll summarize it. Again, this will be forwarded on to the council. We couldn't get it out and distributed to all of you and to the public. Those usually happen, they're published the Wednesday or Thursday before the meeting. So this came too late. But basically, they are requesting that it be entered into record. I will enter it into the council, be entered into the council's record, but I'll give you the summary. And this is from John Robert Bailing and Anders B. Hellquist from Wells Riley, which is, I believe, a law firm. They feel there is a burden on the city to have substantial evidence that the applicant can comply with city's laws and proposed CUP conditions. The meat of their letter is their interpretation or their take on Act 67 and how the city should react. And we do have Attorney Lindsay Mathers, the city attorney, at the meeting tonight if you have any questions of legality or interpretation of the act. So they feel that automatically approving the CUP due to the applicant's agreement to follow the conditions and follow other city ordinances, they feel it would ignore the requirements of Act 67, that Burroughs not only agree to the conditions, but they have to show it is currently satisfying and will satisfy city requirements. They did bring up there were multiple concerns raised at the last Plan Commission meeting, and also compliance with existing city requirements. They referenced Mr. Bigelow's testimony that he had witnessed automobiles, lawnmowers, and appliances on the site, and also his concerns of potential environmental issues, and that the existing material recovery facility was not acting within the rules set forth by the city. And again, they submitted those photos of scrapyard uses, not material recovery uses. So they do reference, our conversation at the Plan Commission about what's legal and what's not, what's an auto salvage and a junkyard as opposed to a material recovery, and basically made the statement that they are doing auto salvage and junkyard. The photos that were shown prior were the same ones submitted with this letter that have been submitted with the council letter. And then they did want to express concern that the day after the Plan Commission meeting, there were photographs, and they did supply a video as well. I can't get it on the screen, but basically showing the car bodies being put into an open trailer, so they were no longer visible from the street, and also a video of what appears to be a pile of scrap metal with the car being lowered into it, and then becoming not visible. So they feel that based on the information, that Burroughs has a disregard for city ordinances, and that disregard is actually considered substantial evidence and would act as a reason to deny the conditional use permit. They also, in their letter, included some suggested conditions if it is to go forward, and I will just read what those are. If it's going to be Plan Commission is going to be recommending approval of the conditional use permit. This person believes the following conditions would be necessary and required to protect the public health, safety, and welfare. The first would be to obtain and maintain in good standing any and all licenses, permits, and other approvals from local, state, and federal government authorities. Second would be that the city zoning office be notified within 5 days of receipt of any notice of noncompliance from the DNR, the US EPA, or other body. That within 5 days of issuance, the zoning office be provided a copy of any inspection report and or audit conducted by the DNR, US EPA, the Department of Ag, Department of Transportation. And lastly, in the event of a discharge, e.g. spill of hazardous substance, that the city shall be immediately notified, the city planning office or zoning office being immediately notified. And then they ended with a thank you in advance for your review and consideration. So that was the basis of the one that just came in, that I just received this morning. But I did want to summarize that. It will be going on to council in full, exactly what was submitted. The photographic evidence is the same as what you received in your packet, however. So with that, I mean, staff's recommendation is still the same. This isn't a new item for us. This is just being referred back from the city council. I can say that we did receive it as a complaint. We went out and invested the complaint on the 6th and did not find the evidence that was supplied. You know, whether it was cleaned up or what, we did not find anything, and we won't be sending a citation or a notice of correction based on our investigation from November 6th. But I do want to point out in some of those concerns that were brought up, when you look at your pretty extensive conditions on the item, one item was that all conditions would have to be complied with prior to occupancy of the auto and salvage use. Again, there is some photographic evidence that maybe that had been happening. I did talk with the applicant without getting into detail. Mr. Burroughs explained that it had been a mistake, that some product had been inadvertently delivered to that site by an employee and was immediately corrected and would not happen again until they get their CUP via phone. So it's back in your hands.
Great, thank you, Dave. Any discussion or questions for staff?
Yes, this is Commissioner. I do have a question for Dave. So Dave, with your last statement, and I have written down several questions, I am assuming that staff believes that the photographic evidence received was accurate?
We have no reason to believe that it was not accurate. I mean, it is the site. They are not date stamped, but I mean, we take it in as a complaint, like any other complaint. And then we do our investigation.
The next question, was the inspection announced or unannounced?
It was announced. We had to request access to the material recovery facility. As you know, it's all fenced off. We can't enter their property without permission. So yes, we did have to request access, which petitioner did grant. And it was actually, again, just this past Friday.
Go ahead.
This is Commissioner Bremer. Dave, we had some other evidences or testimonies about the failure of Burroughs Midwest to live up to good faith efforts in following regulations during our previous conversations. And one of the main reasons that I was concerned about voting in favor of this proposal and of your recommendation was that it seemed to me that there were some environmental dangers involved here. I was told at the meeting that that would be up to the state or the EPA to enforce, not us.
Right.
Do you see any reason that we should not, nonetheless, add to our conditions, as suggested in Mr. Bailing's letter, whatever is applicable in the list of authorizations and permits, and require that those be obtained, and that there be evidence provided that they have been obtained. My concern is that we need to pass the ball clearly to the other bodies, governmental bodies, that would be responsible for doing what we can't do ourselves, in addition to whatever we ourselves would need to investigate from the city.
Well, to answer that, we wouldn't be doing the functions of these other government bodies. Most of them are state regulated, a few are county. So we wouldn't be repeating that work. We do not have any control over their processes. Suggestions that you have a 5-day turnaround. This is city policy. It's not something you're going to be able to change in a conditional use. As far as getting licenses, they can't get any licenses until they get the conditional use. So it's sort of what started off this whole petition is when they came in to get their salvage license, and it couldn't be granted because they required a conditional use.
I understand that, and I understand that we can't direct the other agencies, but we can direct the applicant, that the applicant must obtain those licenses and permits in advance of starting the work. Is that not correct?
You can request that, but they can't get their licenses from the DOT without the CUP.
No, I understand. We would pass the CUP, but one of the conditions of the CUP that would relate precisely to the final condition you laid down would be that they would need to obtain those licenses and permits before they could take full possession and begin to operate on that parcel.
Sure, you could put that condition on. It is overkill because they have to do that anyway.
It would certainly resolve some of my very serious concerns about this. I have been impressed, David. I really want to commend you on the care you've taken in coming up with ways of addressing the difficulty of having this kind of a facility very close to our Belt Avenue ambitions and the concerns of the business people and residents around. But that concern remained, and it seemed to me that Mr. Bailing's letter provided a way of addressing that concern. So I'm hearing you say that there would be no problem with including that requirement.
You could include it. It would be, just to make the point, yes, they would have to get those anyway.
Okay, so kind of going off of what Commissioner Bremer was talking about, the other things, and I just jotted these down quickly, was getting the non-compliance back to the city, the inspections to the city, and also the discharge the city is supplied. Those things currently that we would be able, are those things that we would be able to add to a CUP like this? Because I feel like those are things that we definitely, the city should be notified of all those things, and I'm not sure that without it being written down somewhere that we're going to, or is it already something that they're supposed to report?
Well, those would be actions and items that came from other government entities. They may copy us on them. Environmental is probably going to go to Public Works. Yeah, I don't know. We may be notified. We may not be notified. But it's not something that we would regulate after the fact.
That is understood, and that was the reason that I went ahead and voted in favor of the proposal before. But we could notify the other regulatory bodies that we are requiring the permits, et cetera, as a condition of moving forward.
Yeah, you certainly could. I don't know. Yeah, as far as, the city being notified within 5 days and process suggestions, those are processes outside the Plan Commission's control, outside of the petitioner's control, outside of the city's control. Those may be things that might be extraneous to try to enforce it. It might be an intentional denial of the CUP at that point if those can't happen. As far as getting the notices, every time there's any type of action by the state, I am not super familiar with how those actions, how the state notifies them if there's a problem.
I'm not suggesting that we require other agencies to notify us. We can't do that. I understand that. All I'm suggesting is that we require the applicant to give us proof that they have gotten the necessary authorizations from those other regulatory agencies so that we know that the ball has been passed to them.
Sure, yeah, and like I said, you can add that. I was trying to answer more of Lisa's question. She kind of jumped on the other.
And I apologize.
Yeah, okay. So Lisa, I don't know if that answers your question, but Madam Chair, that I don't know if we could do that. To answer this question, yes, we could get verification from the applicant that those licenses were granted after the CUP is granted, and all the conditions are met.
Yeah, and David, again, I have a ton of questions, but I would say we probably devoted, 5 to 10 hours on this subject within the last 3 to 4 meetings. If we do open it up, and I know this is just Commissioner talking now, but when we do open it up, I find it a little disheartening that the day after our last submission, we already started receiving information that there are some violations. I would be very curious to understand from the company why that mistake happened so quickly, seeing that there's so much passion and energy around this topic. I would think that a little bit more carefulness would have been displayed. So that's what my first question was around the photos. Were they legitimate? And the staff is saying they're legitimate. The day after we had a meeting, we had this error or mistake happen. It's very, I'm going to use my word again, disheartening. And hopefully the petitioners have some type of answer behind that. Because I think all of us went into it with good faith efforts in those conditions, knowing that those conditions would be met before the new application would be received, even though it was going through the council. So that's just for information only. Again, when we do open it up, I do want to hear more definition around why the mistake happened and why the mistake happened the day after we took the vote. And why the owners are not doing more to make sure these type of mistakes don't happen in the future, knowing that there's so much passion and energy around what is happening at the site. So just for information, throw that out.
Okay. Yeah, I believe the representative for the owners are here. I'm not sure if the owners or the applicants are here as well. Mr. Graff is shaking and said yes, they are. So if you decide to open the floor as the commission, you could ask that question.
Okay. Did we have any more discussion amongst the commission before I entertain a motion to open the floor?
Yes, please, Lisa.
Go ahead, Vice Chair Miller.
I will jump on DJ's comments and add a little bit more fire to it. I am exceptionally disappointed with both the applicant and also the inspector of the city to not take any action after seeing an obvious infraction. Part of what we are here to do is provide as much within our realm ability to control these type of things. And one of those pieces of that puzzle is allowing complaints to have some teeth to them and some action. The inspector went out there and basically just ignored this, from what I'm understanding. What are we supposed to be? We're trying to do everything we can to help this community out and give them a compromise. And this is obviously contentious, and it's getting very, very frustrating from my perspective, and I think a lot of the other commissioners here, to keep going back and forth about this particular thing where we have such a limited scope of power to try to do the right thing and regulate this for the city, but also the neighborhood, but also have the best interests of the business in mind. And like DJ just said, not even a week after that, we already have evidence that they have basically ignored the conversation that has been had. I mean, it's either ignoring what we've said or it's complete. I don't even want to go down this path. I'm very upset about this, and I'm tired of talking back and forth when we're trying to do the good thing here, and it doesn't seem like the applicant has any interest in trying to follow the rules even a week after we've had this discussion. So I do want to hear from them, but I need to be very clear about this, that the amount of trust has been severely cut. The operation is going to be under scrutiny by the neighborhood, obviously already. So as much as we try to work through this, we need to start seeing a little bit better representation from the applicant. Otherwise, this is going to keep getting dragged out. And I can't imagine it's going to go away. So we need to start seeing a little bit more cooperation here. Otherwise, I'm not sure how this is going to end well for anyone involved. I specifically want to know from you, David, why did the inspector not do anything? Was it just because when they went out there was nothing there?
Correct.
What happened?
Right, when we receive a complaint, and even with the photographic evidence, so not date stamped, location, looks like it's the appropriate location, but we're not sure. So the inspectors, and in this case the zoning administrator also, because of the land use controversy, both went out on the site, several times, contacted the owners and went into the site. So they have to get the evidence on their own. They can't take others' evidence to provide a citation or a correction notice. They have to witness it themselves or take pictures of it themselves.
And that's understood. I do get that.
Attorney Mathers raising her hand too as well.
And I would like to hear, I guess, a little bit on those aspects of it too. In the end, here I think we put these conditions in place to try to safeguard as much as we can in this situation. That's not an ideal situation for anyone here. But what really gets me is when it seems there is disregard for what we're trying to do almost immediately after, but also the mechanisms of the city to be able to address when issues do come out also seems to be kind of failing too. So I'm feeling very frustrated at the moment. Sorry for my rant.
So I don't know if you want to recognize Lindsay Mather.
I would like to recognize Lindsay Mather.
Hey everyone, I don't think I've had the pleasure of talking to planning commission before. I am Assistant City Attorney Lindsay Mather. I just wanted to interject a little bit. Sounds like you guys you probably know way more about this area than I do. But just keep in mind, when it comes to adding conditions to the permit or approving or denying the permit at a base level, just remember that you need to have substantial evidence. And like Dave just said, we can't just go off of the pictures that our instructors need to see the violations themselves when they go out there. So it's not as simple as, seeing the pictures and, again, like Dave said, we have no reason to doubt their validity, the truth of that they were taken on the day after, whatever. But at the same time, we also have a report from an inspector and the zoning administrator who went out and there was no violation. So just keep in mind that whichever way you go, you have to articulate on the record what the substantial evidence is for that decision and, make sure that it's not based on speculation.
Well, I guess I hate to say this, but it kind of feels like our hands are pretty tied in this situation. Is that kind of what you're saying? Because we don't have timestamps, we don't have a further away picture or video, that really, it's not necessarily substantiated. So because of Act 67, we're kind of tied in this situation.
I can't tell you whether or not you have substantial evidence, just that, you know, if you want to open the floor and hear from people, however you want to do it, because ultimately the decision has to come down to, does the A, B, and C constitute substantial evidence? In the opinion of the board. It's not, I would love to tell all the commissioners what to do, but I don't think
Okay, thank you. Was there any other discussion amongst the commission?
Lisa, just one more point before we move into opening it up, if that's all right.
Sure.
Obviously, we've litigated this pretty thoroughly. Of course, want to hear from anybody in the public that does want to speak on this. We do have a pretty lengthy agenda tonight, and as you mentioned, our hands are pretty tied on this, so we certainly want to hear from anybody that wants to speak on this, but I don't know if there's too much else we can do at this point besides hand this over to council, specifically the elders of the local, of both districts. I would certainly want to make sure that they're engaged in these conversations, but I just want to put the interest of time for all the other items that are on the agenda for everyone else tonight too.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, I'll entertain a motion to open the floor then.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Bremer and a second by Commissioner Petrowski. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and since this is now several meetings that we've had, as we've discussed, so you have spoken in the past before, we heard your testimony. We would like to hear from you again. We are going to confine testimony to 3 minutes. And please, if you have new information, we'd really appreciate new information coming forward, since we've already heard a lot of past information. But I think we probably do want to hear from the applicant first and ask any questions to him. So I guess, Mr. Graff?
Good evening. Both are 2 out of the 3 owners are here, but I do need to address the passion here and the outrage. I think the applicants, to be absolutely honest, have been put through some unfairness, not by the city, but by Alter. Okay, the $3 to $4 billion company that feels so threatened by this yard that originally they hired Mr. Dennis Nelson, who was on this Zoom call, to create a 200-page dossier on my client to feed it not only to the city of Green Bay, but to the village of Howard. When that didn't work, they came out of the woodwork, they came out of the background with their high-priced attorneys from Weld Riley and Eau Claire to go after my clients in the city of Green Bay and the village of Howard. The village of Howard approved some action items with these gentlemen, and now Alter, through its attorneys, are asking that be reconsidered, even though Alter is not an aggrieved citizen or party. Make no mistake about it, ladies and gentlemen. This is about Alter feeling threatened by my client and trying to get you guys to buy into this stuff. And it's garbage. I'm sorry, it's garbage. I don't know why Mr. Nelson is here. Maybe it has to do with the fact that I've initiated litigation against him for defamation against my clients. I have never seen anything like this. And I have been in front of many municipalities with these men to get, we don't ask for special treatment. You know, we face Mr. Bigelow, who throws around how much money he's given the city, and you better shut it down and all this other stuff, and he had to be cut off by this committee. I've frankly never seen anything like this. And Mr. Bigelow's complaints were based upon absolutely nothing. He has no photographs, no videos, no nothing. This was an honest mistake. And what Alter is doing is they're trying their hardest to make my people out to be the bad people because they don't want any competition. 3 miles away from where my folks want to do business, Alter's scrapping vehicles, they're shredding vehicles, creating all sorts of noise, creating all sorts of potential pollution. But you know what? We're fine with them doing that. We have no problem with competition. Because the state is going to protect the streams and the rivers and the lakes. And they're going to make sure we don't pollute. And we're going to make sure we don't pollute. So, Mr. Eric Burroughs, who talked to Dave Buck, is here to answer any questions you have and explain what happened here. But, you know, the outrage here, frankly, should be, again, not against anybody on this commission or the Common Council, but the outrage should be directed from my clients to Alter for what they've done and what they've tried to do. Thank God now they've come out of the woodwork and they're being transparent about what they're doing instead of hiding behind Mr. Nelson. But it's ridiculous.
Hello, City. I did have speaks with David Buck. He was very generous to give me a call and ask me an explanation of what happened. And before this meeting, I did call. I do have a manager that's running a single manager. And I asked him what the issue was over there. And before this meeting, I don't know if the committee is aware of that, we bought out Midwest Scrap Metal on Belp Avenue, which is on the Howard side. And we received a lot of commercial accounts from them, a lot of small scrap yards, which are little commercial accounts, and we have a lot of dumpsters placed all over. What happened was that we picked up a box from a commercial account, and when we dumped the box out, there was 2 cars on the bottom of the box. And my guy immediately contacted the owner of the property. Now the box is mine, but the owner of the scrap, and asked him why we have cars in the box when it's supposed to be only like appliances and regular scrap metal. And he says, well, I thought I could put that in here because I did with the previous owner. Well, we don't with this owner, which is Burroughs Midwest. And immediately, my guy notified me, and I told him to get him off the property ASAP. But I also wanted to find out from the person who sent us the scrap if the cars were legit with a license and everything with the state. And yes, he did take care of that. But the cars were drained and everything, and we immediately got him off the property and sent to B&B Metals. It was a mistake, and I'm not going to sit here and deny it because I told David Buck about it. But my people took very quick action, and as you can see, the one picture was rolling on a semi-truck. We got them off there ASAP to make sure there was no issue. This was before the last meeting we had. So, Mr. Burroughs, both of us are not trying to hide anything here. Okay, accidents do happen, but we did what we're supposed to do. We immediately corrected the action and took care of it. So that's the best as I can say. If we're trying to hide something, we want to spend the landscaping there, we want to put trees up. You see the pictures of our yard. We're being very cooperative with you, and I don't know how else to be more cooperative. We're not trying to hide nothing. There's nothing to hide there. That's what I need to say.
Thank you. And just for housekeeping, can I please get both of you to state your name and addresses for the record?
Yes, Eric Burroughs, 14520 Pioneer Road. The yard is on Belp Avenue. And then my brother,
Ted Burroughs, 675 North El Vernal Road, Manitowoc, 54220.
Ryan Groff, 1425 Memorial Drive, Manitowoc.
Okay, thank you. So does anyone on the commission have any questions for the applicants? Okay. Now, I do just have a question because I had happened to drive past this last week and noticed, is the fence around the property with the dark green paneling, is that all new or is that old?
We put that up approximately, the green stuff was put up approximately when we finished the fence 3 months ago.
Okay.
I believe it was up when we had our first meeting on the computer there.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I know that when I did drive by that I noticed that the bottom of the fence had come away along quite a bit of portion of it. So I don't know if that's something that, you know, is with that kind of fencing and with that kind of paneling, if it needs to be repaired frequently or if it will be.
What happened is that my fence contractor put it on the wrong side of the fence and was a local fence company, and we did contact them because that's senseless on how he put it. He was supposed to put it on the inside, so if the wind goes through it, it blows into the fence, not across the road. So yes, we are taking care of that, yes. I'm not happy about that, but yes, we are with the fence company. Thankfully, they still owe the money. So yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Burroughs.
Yes.
Were there any other questions? Yes. Okay. Go ahead, Alder Steuer.
Well, thank you, Chair Hansen. I was going to wait till the end. In fact, we have city budget tonight, so I'm toggling between two meetings, and I don't know if I'm doing that well. But anyway, thank you for listening. I saw the photos. I appreciate Mr. Burroughs making the comments that he did, and his attorney as well. But I got to admit, I'm a little edgy about all of this as well. Only because, you know, many of my citizens live just south of Phillip Avenue. So they do have concerns. So granted, I understand that, you know, you've been here for a while, you're a business. I appreciate all that. You know, we're not trying to, you know, make a big stink about all of this, but, you know, I think, you know, with some of the activities that happened recently, okay, it was a mistake, but I guess some of the citizens are worried that, okay, maybe it's a mistake, but might this happen again? So I guess I'm just saying that the citizens will be watching this very closely, only because they're concerned about their neighborhood. So, right or wrong, you know, it is what it is. You know, if you lived across the street, you might be, you know, folks that live nearby have concerns. So I guess they really need to be assuaged as much as possible to make sure that everything is going along accordingly. And I know the Plan Commission voted for this last time. You know, the planning department didn't. So I'm on city council. You know, we're going to deal with this next week. So we really need to have everything in place now. You know, I read some of that 100-page dossier that Mr. Nelson had. Look, you know, if we had you know, if the Baseball Hall of Fame dealt with personalities and such, half the people wouldn't be in it. So I don't take that into account. I'm looking at specifically the land use, the zoning, the comprehensive plan, all the different elements that go into this. And, you know, it's important to know that our Phillip Avenue plan, you know, we want some good things for that area. So in the big picture, I think people would like to see something different, but under the circumstances in Act 67, it is what it is. I just want the neighbors to feel like they have a good neighbor and that they can be trusted and move forward. So if we can be assured of that, I think that might help. So those are my initial comments, and I may save some for later. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Steuer. So then if there is anyone else from the public that would be interested in speaking, if you can state your name and address for the record, and please confine your testimony to 3 minutes. Is there anyone else looking to speak on this item?
Lisa, remember for the people on the phone, I think is it pound star 6?
Star 6.
To unmute yourself.
So yeah, star 6 to unmute yourself on the phone.
And Lisa, there was one person that raised their hand.
Steve, okay. Is it was speaking right now?
Ender Kelquin?
That's perfect, Mr. Danilo.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Thank you very much to the members of the Plan Commission. Yeah, I'm part of that 12 Riley firm. I grew up north of Highway 8, so I'm not that high-priced of an attorney. But, you know, we're just here to respectfully request that the Plan Commission recommend disapproval of this conditional use permit. You know, as Mr. Buck mentioned, we did provide a legal memo to the city. And we think it's important to reemphasize that although Act 67 does provide some language regarding applicants and approving conditional use permits,
it doesn't require you to approve or rubber stamp a CUP as presented. In fact, the burden is on the applicant, Mr. Burroughs, to provide substantial evidence himself that he is in fact demonstrating compliance with all city requirements and conditions. The evidence presented in your packet, again, we think is compelling. And just to touch on the assistant city attorney's position, there may be a difference between trying to prove up a citation versus substantial evidence in a conditional use approval. Substantial evidence under Act 67 is facts and information, not merely personal preferences or speculation. So what you've seen isn't just speculation like, oh, I heard cars were being moved into the site, right? There were actually pictures taken. And in fact, something that wasn't in our packet, but we got a picture from a resident. I'm sorry. That picture was taken October 8th of cars going into the site. That was taken from a neighborhood resident. And we ask that you review the video that's also been provided to help clarify the activities that were occurring at the site. Again, we don't think Burroughs meets their burden of providing substantial evidence to show they comply with city requirements. And as Mr. Buck outlined, even if the Plan Commission feels like they are boxed in and need to recommend approval of this conditional use permit, we'd request those 4 conditions that Mr. Buck outlined. Primarily, that the applicant needs to have all permits and approvals and maintain all permits and approvals during the life of their operations, that they need to provide notice to the city of any notice of noncompliance or notice of violation from the DNR or EPA, that they need to provide the city with notices of any audits or inspections by governmental entities, and then they need to, Burroughs needs to provide notice to the city of any spills or discharges to the environment for any hazardous substances. We think those are reasonable conditions that are based on substantial evidence.
Thank you, Mr. Helfester. Your 3 minutes are up, but could you please state your name and address for the record?
Thank you. Anders Helquist and 3624 Oakwood Hills Parkway, Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much to the Plan Commission.
Was there anyone else that wished to speak on this item?
If I could.
Yes, Ms. Mather, please state your name and address.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not actually speaking on the record as member of the public talking.
Oh, that's great. Sorry.
As staff, yeah.
My screen is locked.
Sorry about that. Just wanted to clarify a little bit. First of all, want to clarify that as city attorney, you guys take no advice from me. And there are, the applicant does have to show by substantial evidence that they are capable of meeting the conditions established. But it's not necessarily, that doesn't necessarily require that they show that they're meeting them currently. I think what Attorney Helfest is asking you to do is to read more into the statute that is actually there. Everybody's got, like, the applicant has burden to show, like I said, that they can meet the conditions imposed, and as I said before, the city has to have substantial evidence for any conditions that it poses. And he's correct, substantial evidence are facts and evidence that cannot be based on speculation. And again, I take the point that it's not entirely speculation that you have pictures, but like Dave Buchan said, we don't have date stamps, we don't have time stamps, we can't speculate as to when, I'm just trying to remind you all that it's, you know, not a foregone conclusion that just because substantial evidence is a lower bar than you may need to prove a citation in court, that doesn't mean that we can still just rely on hearsay if that's what we have.
Thank you so much for that information. And it was Mr. Nelson has his hand raised.
Correct. Dennis Nelson, I live at 4195 Pine Lane. I have done business in the city for over 35 years and currently run my business out of 1030 West Mason Street. I wanted to put a date stamp on some of the evidence that was attached. We have evidence that there were vehicles go there at the site going back to November 28th. On the day after that hearing, May 13th, there was at least 12 to 14 vehicles that I noticed were on site. And not only were they on site, but as I was taking photographs of these vehicles, the crane operator began to pulled a semi-truck trailer over and began to pull out of the pile these vehicles. You guys, on the night previous, they had said there were no vehicles there, and so they began to put them into a tractor trailer, ostensibly, so that they could not be seen by inspectors or the public or myself. And after he ran out of room in the back of the tractor trailer, the crane operator then started to dig a hole in the middle of the pile. I have video of that. And in the in that pile, he put 4, 5, 6 additional vehicles in the pile. After he did that, he took some metal to cover them up, and then he took a really large piece of sheet metal, about 30 by 30, the sheet metal iron curtain to put over them, put more stuff on top to hide the vehicles that he had in there. I want to put up one more image in response to Eric Burroughs' excuse that an employee, somebody delivered a bin with 2 vehicles in by mistake. I'll show you what arrived prior to that in October. Just give me one moment. I don't know if you can see this. That's on October 8th. That's a flatbed trailer with, at least 6 vehicles in it that were pulled in by, it looks like somebody that wanted to do some retail business with them. I wanted to make one other comment. It goes to the credibility of Jerry Bigelow. Mr. Graff wanted to say that because he was emotionally wasn't credible. Everything that Mr. Bigelow has pointed out that's factual about vehicles and lawnmowers and 50-gallon drums with oil leaking out of them all occurred. I have photographic evidence for all of it.
Who's paying you to be here today, Mr. Nelson?
Hold on a second. It's actually been 3 minutes, Mr. Nelson. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. It's been 3 minutes, Mr. Nelson, so I do appreciate your testimony, but we speak one at a time, Mr. Graff. So I guess, David, I do have a question for you as far as these pictures and video evidence that Mr. Nelson is referencing. Have you seen that information?
Well, the pictures, not all of it that Mr. Nelson is referencing, the ones that were submitted, the 3 photos that were on your screen earlier and that are in your packet tonight are the same photos that were submitted prior to council. I do have the video and I can try to play it. I'm not sure if it's going to work in this format, but let me try to screen share and see if I can show it. So just 1 second.
I appreciate that.
Everybody see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, it's very short, 7 seconds. I don't know if that is a video that Mr. Nelson had made or not. It was supplied by Wells Riley.
Invalidated. That is my photograph, and thank you for this opportunity to speak to the committee, by the way. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry, who is speaking right now? Oh,
That was Dennis Nelson again.
oh, right, okay. All right, was there anyone else from the public that was wishing to speak on this item? And if anyone sees any hands, let me know, please.
Yes, I'd like to speak.
Okay, can you please state your name and address for the record?
Yeah, my name is Corey Hensel. My address is 1216 North Buchanan Street. And
Okay,
I'm speaking on behalf of Jerry Bigelow tonight that could not make the meeting. I can attest to Mr. Nelson's testimony with the video evidence proving that multiple cars have been intentionally hid in a pile doing business this whole entire time that we've been having these meetings together. This has been taking place right underneath the city's nose with nobody seeing it happen. Unbelievable. First of all, I'd like to commend Jake Miller for seeing through stuff and actually realizing that there's something going on here. As far as the attorney for Mr. Burroughs goes, he claims that Mr. Bigelow has no photos or videos. We have plenty of that. It's all documented. We'd love to share it with the whole committee. We'd like to get it all together and share it. Now, this is multiple people that have video evidence, including neighbors, including other parties. Why is somebody else not raising a red flag and going, what the hell is going on here? Mr. Burroughs claims that he's only had 2 cars mistakenly brought there. Well, try about 22 cars and lawnmowers and everything else. So there hasn't been just 2 cars. So if we want to hide the problem that there is in putting this in the city, you're going to ruin your city and also your neighborhood. Lisa Hanson brought up a good point. She said she sees the fencing coming apart, and it's not opaque at 90% at what you guys have required. It's an opaque at about 30%. And furthermore, the fencing is only on 3 sides of the property, and it's required to be on 4 sides of the property. They don't have it on the south side because they don't own the fence. Now, I don't know why the city attorney is saying that pictures are not evidence. You're going to tell me that a detective is on a crime scene, he has to be there to witness it? So your inspector has to be there to witness it. Well, he can't be there 10 hours a day, every single day, like we are across the street from it. We see it, we're there, we live it. He doesn't. He shows up for 15 minutes, and then he leaves. And guess what? Right back to square one. Just like everybody's been telling everybody on this plan commission that's been happening. That's all I got to say. If you guys pass this without further investigation, it's unbelievable. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Hensel. Is there anyone else from the public wishing to speak on this item?
I don't see anybody raising their hand, Madam Chair.
I don't see anyone either, then I'll entertain a motion to close the floor, please.
I'm raising my hand.
Oh, I apologize. Who is that, please?
My name is Luke Stubbs. And I'm at 1220 Winford Avenue.
Okay.
And I will, I guess, third what Corey has said and Dennis has said with the vehicles. I've seen multiple trailers go in with, 6, 7, 8 cars on it.
Thank you. And there was no indication on our screen that you were raising your hand, Mr. Stubbs. We don't have a visual image for you, so I'm glad you identified yourself.
I've never used Zoom before, so I guess I don't really know how to use it that well, but
it's good.
Doing great, don't worry.
Yeah, but I mean, what Corey has said and what Dennis has said, I will say that's true. I've seen that happen. Flatbed trailers going in with multiple cars. And I've seen cars on that big pile of scrap that they have sitting on the north side of the yard.
Okay, thank you very much for your testimony, Mr. Stubbs. Was there anyone else from the public?
The green fence has.
Was there anyone else from the public wishing to speak on this? And if you're just coming in via phone, it's *6 to unmute yourself. All right, I think we're good now. All right, I'll entertain a motion to close the floor, please.
So
moved. Second.
A motion by Commissioner Bremer, seconded by Commissioner Daniels. All in favor? Aye.
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 All right.
I would like to ask Dave Buck, please, to clarify the question about the fence. As I understand, there is a current fence up there that was required for the previous use of this property that was already permitted. And I believe our conditions ask for a greater impermeability. Am I right about that, Mr. Buck?
I'm not sure exactly. There is, that fence is up there not for the conditional use. It is up there for the current use of material recovery. I don't know the regulation offhand if there's a difference in the opacity of the fences depending on the use, but their site plan was approved for material recovery.
Okay, my point, they are not failing to meet our conditions because those have not yet been approved by the city council and are not yet binding on them for the percent impermeability.
Correct.
Thank you. I would note that in addition to Mr. Hensel's and Mr. Stubbs and Mr. Nelson's testimony, we had testimony from a number of others at our earlier meeting without documentary evidence, but fairly substantial observation that was testified to before this, before the Plan Commission. We're not just running on guess and by golly.
Go ahead, David.
And I guess Ms. Mather may correct me, but I'm from listening to her earlier. It is the commission's determination of substantial evidence, not what an inspector would need to issue a compliance order or a citation. So I do want to, you know, those are different things.
Mm-hmm.
You are correct, sir.
Thank you.
So I guess, and I feel like this is such a tiny point that I'm picking at for some reason, but I know when I looked at that fence and that green covering, I would assume that 90% opaque is like, can barely see through it. It's pretty easy to see through that. But I guess that seems like such a minor point. I guess the concern that I have is if we have good video and photographic evidence from recent that that this has been going on before we've approved the CUP. I don't know. I feel like that's something that we need to see to make a determination.
Lisa, I think what I'm worried about is I think we're getting into compliance versus what we can really control. I don't know what else we can do, we as a commission can do with this. I think it's over, we're kind of turning it over to compliance. And I think as David has noted in the past, we're actually putting a little bit more restriction on it by putting this through and having council pass it because of the conditions. Fencing, other things that we've talked about. I'm just not sure what else we can do with this at this point. it was in our power besides handing it over to compliance, which I'm not really sure the inspector or compliance in general, I'm feeling all that much faith in either at the moment, but honestly, that's beyond this at this point. I don't know what else we can do, really, at this point.
Yeah, I will second that, and yeah, I will second that. I think some of the questions we had, we got those answered. You know, in anything we do, we hope that the compliant is making a good faith effort to abide by the stipulations we put in place. To Mrs. Matter's point, if we have an inspector that goes out and doesn't find anything, and we don't deem that substantial evidence, then legally, what can we do? Again, it's a very emotional topic. We have a lot of very passionate people on both sides, but I agree with Commissioner Miller. I think our hands are kind of tied in what we can do, and if Chair Hanson, if it's appropriate, I would like to make a motion to approve this and move forward.
I still have some points that I think that we need to discuss before we get to a vote on this, if that's all right. I don't want to dive too deep into a legal analysis of this, because we do have Attorney Mather as well. But the two most important words in this statute are shall and or in my analysis here, because shall means that the legislature is commanding us to do something. It's not a may. You know, if the statute said that the town may issue a conditional use permit, well, then that gives us a lot of discretion. But this statute was specifically changed by the state legislature to remove control over the granting of conditional use permits from local municipalities to a large degree, such that in order to deny it, we have to find substantial evidence, and here comes the or, that the applicant isn't abiding by it or won't abide by it, just to paraphrase a little bit. So in other words, they can satisfy the conditional use permit by either abiding by the conditions currently or by abiding by them in the future. And as long as they can do one of those two things, we are required to grant the conditional use permit. However, we are also entitled to determine the appropriate conditions. And if we as a board feel that we need more evidence to craft those opinions or those conditions more carefully, and it seems that there's a fair amount of evidence that's just coming to our attention today, even though this has been dragged out several times, I think that we have the ability to set a new hearing for this at a future board or a future commission meeting, ask anyone frankly ask the applicant to respond to this evidence. And in order for them to do that, I think it needs to be disclosed to them in advance so they can prepare a response. So rather than moving forward with a vote up or down today, even though we've had this before us multiple times, I think the most prudent course of action would be to set a date somewhat down the road and ask that we as a commission be provided all this evidence that everyone claims to have, provide it to the applicant, give them the opportunity to respond to it, and only then would we be able to craft a conditional use permit that is thorough and appropriate and fair to the applicants and fair to the town. And those are my thoughts.
Madam Chair, I would point out that the video, the video and other recordings of our previous meetings would be our public record available to the applicants and to anybody else about the testimony that we have received before, to which I earlier referred.
Go ahead, David.
I just want to make the comment as well. Keep in mind, your action here is a recommendation to the council, and I know you know that, but I just want to stress that again. So if there is a desire to have staff reach out to Mr. Hensel and Mr. Stubbs and Mr. Bigelow, we can reach out to them to acquire their evidence, to either have it as Commissioner Petrowski has recommended as a postponed action, or have that available for the council for their discussion as well. Because they are the final decision makers. That would not give the Plan Commission the ability to look at it and determine if it's substantial evidence or not, but it would allow that council to do that. So I just throw that out there as a, you know.
Hey, Dave, when it didn't hit council, was there discussion, or was this pretty much just turned around because of the new evidence? Sorry if that's the wrong term.
Correct. It was the new item was, again, came in late, so it could not be presented to council. They asked staff if we felt it was relevant. We did feel it was relevant, and council picked it back, or referred it back, excuse me, to the Plan Commission.
Thank you.
I would point out, just as a counterpoint to David, that this commission is important to have the expertise as far as conditional use permits go, and the entire council is. So it may be in the city's best interest to have it go through the commission first. But again, that's a decision for the commission, but that's for what it's worth. My 2 cents.
So I guess what, taking that into consideration, I agree with Attorney Mather that we're probably in the best position to put together a cohesive presentation rather than to just say, here you go, to the council, and put together either a conditional use permit that we feel substantially addresses the concerns raised here, or to give them a recommendation to decline this with substantial evidence so that whatever decision is made is ultimately final, or at least sufficient for them to make a clear, well-informed decision on it. So we already have a motion on the floor. So I would, I guess, either defer to Commissioner Daniels if he's willing to withdraw the motion, or I guess we could wait for an up or down vote or a second on the motion.
I will withdraw the motion. I will withdraw the motion.
In that case, I'll bring a new motion to postpone the decision on this from now until, I would say, the December Plan Commission meeting. That would give ample time for the applicant to respond to these allegations that are in some part being brought over time, in some part being introduced just tonight. I would also invite any member of the public who feels that they have relevant information to provide that to the planners, to the city, so that they can assemble it, and rather than just have kind of a free-for-all where everyone's introducing evidence, being held up to the screen and all that, which is good. I'm glad people brought evidence, but so we could have it in a clear, cohesive package and have the applicant with a fair opportunity and time to respond to it. I think 60 days would be sufficient for that. So I move to postpone for those reasons until the December Plan Commission meeting.
Go ahead, Attorney Mather.
Could I just make one suggestion that you provide a cutoff date for people to submit their evidence so that David has enough time to accumulate it all and send it to the applicant? That way things aren't coming in the last day.
Okay, and when the December council meeting, what is the date on the December council meeting?
Well, it would be the December Plan Commission meeting, which would be December 7th, which is 30 days.
Okay.
January, if you wanted 60.
I meant to say January. I had 60 days in my head, and this year I'm trying to make it end faster than it is.
Yeah, I hear you. So yeah, they meet, they're held the Monday the week before the Common Council. The Common Council's agenda has been shifting. Last year it shifted. I'm not sure what that is for next year. I don't know if Lindsay knows yet, but it would be the Monday before the council is when they would meet, which would typically be January 19th.
Okay, so then what kind of cutoff would we want to give to get evidence to you, David?
Well, you would end up going to the, it would be the December 7th Plan Commission meeting. And I would need, everything is published the Wednesday before the Plan Commission. So I would need it probably at least by the Tuesday before the Plan Commission, so a week before the 7th. So I would say December 1st or November 30th.
November. Are we, Commissioner Petrowski, you had said 60 days. Were you still okay with December 7th Plan Commission meeting, or did you want to push it to January?
I think January is appropriate. I mean, in order to prep it for the next meeting, that only gives everyone just a couple of weeks basically to get their stuff together. And what I don't want to have happen is for us to come back here in December and then not have a clear answer and then push it out again. So I'd rather just do it one, hopefully final time, and let's do the January. That's my motion. So the January Plan Commission meeting.
Okay, so, and I'm sorry the timing here is kind of strange. So if it's January 19th, the Plan Commission is going to be January 11th. I would need the information by January, no later than January 4th. To go to the January 11th Plan Commission, which would then be forwarded to the Council on January 19th. I sure hope I have all those meetings.
Okay. Go ahead, Vice Chair Miller.
I don't know if we can do this, but can we somehow make that a special session for that specifically? There are a ton of very patient and good people sitting on this call listening to us discuss this right now, and this is not the first time that this has happened. We're at 7:30 already, and we're 3 items in. If there's any way possible, can we make it a special session so people do not have to wait through all this? This is ridiculous. I'm sorry.
I would consider that a friendly amendment, and I would accept that.
We can poll the Plan Commissioners and have a meeting, a special Plan Commission meeting in January. We can't hold one of your regular meetings because if applications come in, we have to bring them forward. But we can hold a special meeting in January.
Okay.
Please.
I heartily concur in that, and that would be with the understanding that the information would need to be gathered by that 6-day period before the special meeting.
Okay. So yeah, anything that comes later than that 6-day time frame, I will not include in my commission packet.
Is there any way to notify people who have been involved in these various meetings now that we are making this additional step?
I can go through the minutes and look for whose name and address provided, and then obviously we send out notification within 400 plus feet from the site.
Excellent.
Okay.
With that in mind, I would second Commissioner Petrowski's motion.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to postpone to a special meeting time that will be given by staff. Was there any further discussion amongst the commission?
Just one point of clarification, it would be coming back in terms of the PUD as is, there's no changes to the conditions, nothing else that so we'd be looking at the same thing, we're just gonna be adding in the additional information, correct?
Correct.
So would we be able to take action at that time as well?
Certainly.
Okay, good, thank you.
I would want at that time to offer as an amendment the listing of particular permits that need to be obtained by the applicant.
Okay.
Yes, and yes, we can do our best to find out what all those are, and none of us are scrap or junkyard, so we'll do our best.
Thank you. You have done your best in every step along the way of this one, David. Thank you.
No, thank you, David. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion amongst the commissioners? All right, then we'll go ahead with a roll call vote. Again, this is to postpone to a special session sometime in January. Vice Chair Miller?
Aye.
Commissioner Bremer?
Aye.
Commissioner Petrowski?
Aye.
We have been joined by Alder Corpus Dax.
Is she here?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Commissioner Daniels?
Aye.
Commissioner Linsmeyer? Aye. And Alder Corpus Dax?
Is it okay for me to vote since I just popped in like the last 10 minutes?
You don't have to vote if you don't, I mean, it's coming back to us, so you'll have a chance to vote in the future.
Yeah, I'll vote. Okay, but right now, just I didn't hear everything.
All right. And
What's the date? What is the date, Lisa? Is there a date?
We don't have a date. We're
Okay.
setting
To be determined.
to be determined.
TBD?
It will be a special session, so that the one thing on the, hopefully, the one thing on the agenda.
And when will that be determined? Any idea as far as a rough time frame?
Well, we'll have to poll the plan commissioners to find their availability.
Okay.
I mean, we have to have a quorum, so we'll do that well in advance. By middle of December, we'll know for sure what the date is.
All right, thank you.
Is that possible? Is it something that you can address at the December meeting so that you can announce the deadlines at one of the meetings? That would probably be beneficial to everybody involved.
That's very smart. Thank you very much, Attorney Mather. Okay, so we 6 in favor and 1 abstention. And moving on. Okay, so public hearing. This public hearing has been properly posted and public notification has been published in the Green Bay Press Gazette. The Plan Commission is interested in hearing public comments on the subject agenda item. We invite your comments and ask that after your name has been called, you state your address, whether you represent a group or association, whether you favor, oppose, or are only providing information in this matter, and your comments or concerns. We also ask that you confine your testimony to facts related to the proposal at hand and avoid repetitive testimony. You must be recognized by the Plan Commission in order to speak, and please address your comments to the chair. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. We will now open the public hearing on agenda item 4, public hearing on the request to authorize a conditional use permit for an expansion of a single-family dwelling in a varied density residential R3 district at 1518 Western Avenue, submitted by Eric Kapla, Schoen Street Condos Rentals, LLC, property owner. And if we can have a brief overview from the staff before we open the public comment.
Sure, thank you, Madam Chair. This property is located at 1518 Western Avenue. That's a single-family home on the north side of Western, between Military Avenue and Fisk. The reason for the request for conditional use permit is, as a single-family home, this is considered non-conforming, in the current very density residential district. So any expansion really would need a conditional use permit. So the CUP is a tool to allow for expansion. In this case, a smaller addition or garage addition to the north side of the existing structure. So because the footprint is changing, we're considering that an expansion of the non-conforming use. The CUP will be the tool to hopefully correct that.
Thank you, Paul. Right. And now we will be taking testimony from interested parties, those that are in favor of the proposal. And if anyone sees any hands raised, please let me know. Can we get back to the gallery view so I can at least try to, sorry, thank you.
And Mr. Eric Kapla did raise his hand.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Eric Kapla, 2769 Blue Spruce Avenue, Green Bay, Wisconsin. I'm owner of 1518 Western. I'm here to answer any questions. I'm expanding a garage to an existing home that in the back, it actually already has a 6-unit that was built in 2004. And it originally had 2 stalls, and I'm putting it back to have multiple stalls again, to have similar amenities that it had originally.
Thank you very much. And this, we might need to ask you more questions when it gets to the actionable item versus the public hearing part of this. Was there anyone else that wished to speak in favor of this item? Was there anyone who wished to speak in opposition to this item? Is there anyone wishing to speak to provide information only? Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Let the record reflect that no one came forward. This public hearing is now closed. And we will move on to agenda item number 5, consideration with possible action on the request to authorize a conditional use permit for an expansion of a single-family dwelling in a varied density residential R3 district at 1518 Western Avenue, submitted by Eric Kapla, Showen Street Condos Rentals, LLC property owner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just add a few more points here. This is the city's comprehensive plan showing the future land use for the area. Actually, the comp plan recommends low-density residential long-term, even though it has a current R3 zoning. If and when we get to our comprehensive plan update, this is probably a candidate to be changed to more of a medium to high-density residential zoning. But currently, it has future land use for low-density residential. As I mentioned before, the current zoning is R3. Kind of see that in kind of this tan color here. The red is commercial on Military Avenue. There are multifamily dwellings to the east of this property towards this, but there are some single-family homes mainly to the south here. This is a Google view of the property. This is the single-family dwelling here. As the applicant mentioned before, there is a multifamily dwelling to the rear here. You can kind of see where that driveway came through. There was, again, a second stall was added here, but that was removed back in the early 2000s to allow for that driveway access. And this is a view of the Google Street view of the property, although this has been remodeled more recently. You can see the garage and the actual addition would be on the back side of the property. We did notice property owners within a couple hundred feet. We didn't receive any calls or questions regarding this. Staff is recommending approval of this item. We have 2 conditions. Compliance with all the regulations of the Green Bay Municipal Code, not covered under the conditional use permit. And item B, future expansions are permitted not to exceed 50% of the footprint of the existing structure. I think the idea there is we want to allow some latitude for the applicant property owner to expand in case there's some minor additions to the structure that enhance the structure's viability.
Thank you, Paul. Was there any discussion amongst commissioners?
I'd move to approve, subject to the conditions proposed.
Second.
Okay.
You can give it to Veronica. She just got here. She can get one in.
Okay, so motion by Commissioner Petrowski, a second by Alder Corpus Dax. Any further discussion? All right, we'll go ahead with a roll call vote. Vice Chair Miller?
Aye.
Alder Corpus Dax? Aye. Commissioner Bremer?
Aye.
Commissioner Petrowski?
Aye.
Commissioner Daniel?
Aye.
Commissioner Linsmeyer? And I will also vote in favor. So that's unanimously approved. Moving ahead to the next city council meeting on November 10th. Moving on to item number 6, public hearing on the request to authorize a conditional use permit for a home-based occupation in a low-density residential R1 district at 1018 Rolling Green Drive, submitted by Phillip and Rita Spunard, property owners. And if staff could give us just a brief overview before we start the public hearing portion.
Sure, thank you, Madam Chair. This is a request for a conditional use permit for a home-based occupation at 1018 Rolling Green Drive. That property is highlighted in red here. The parcel that backs up to West Mason Street. This is Hillcrest Drive. This is the city limit on the far west side of town. There are several conditions that go along with home-based occupations. In this case, the applicant is proposing some meal preparation to be distributed to the public. It's somewhat of a commercial nature, so in working with the applicant, we suggested a conditional use permit as we felt the proposed use is almost too intense and it rose to the level of needing this conditional use permit. Some more oversight on both the Planning Commission and Council's review, I guess. So I can give you additional details in the regular item.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so now looking for testimony for the public hearing, and we are looking for interested parties who are in favor of the proposal, who would like to speak.
My name is Phil Spunard, and this is my wife Rita. We are the property owners at 1018 Rolling Green Drive. And just to give a brief background as to what we're doing, we are looking to put a prep kitchen on the back of our existing structure. What we are doing with that is not a restaurant atmosphere. We will not be taking any wholesale deliveries or food pickups or food orders or anything like that. We basically prepare the meals here. We supply St. John's homeless shelter. We supply other families in crisis. In fact, our motto is encouraging those in crisis one meal at a time. Sorry. So basically what we're doing is we shop at all the grocery stores that all of you shop at. We prepare food, we make meals, we deliver them, we encourage those in crisis. And as you can imagine, since March, there's been a lot of crisis here in this city. That is our only goal. It is not to ever turn it into a restaurant. We have made contact with all of our, the majority of our neighbors within the 200 foot radius, and we have gotten no opposition. In fact, we've even gotten offers to volunteer to donate to our cause of what we're doing. So with that, I'll end my comment.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Was there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of the proposal? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the proposal? Is there anyone wishing to provide information only? Go ahead, Alder Steuer.
Thank you, Chair. I was just waiting for the public to finish. I got this from Alder Burnett. He couldn't be at the meeting today, and he represents that district. He said that he gives it his full support, and he said no neighbors contacted him with any concerns. So he's fully in support of this, and I'm just speaking on his behalf. I also wanted to mention that Alder Dorf could not make the meeting today for her item because we had city budget today, which started at 3. So it's been a long day.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Alder Steyer. And yeah, it sounds like a really wonderful thing that the applicants are doing. So, all right, is there anyone else wishing to speak on this item? Is there anyone else wishing to speak?
Yes, hello. I wish to speak.
Okay, please state your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Carmela Schmidt, and I live at 1003 Rolling Green Drive, Green Bay. I'm a neighbor of Phil and Rita's. And I honestly didn't call to find out any information. Phil and Rita weren't able to contact us, probably due to our various work schedules, mine and my husband. And so I'm listening in tonight mainly to find out information about what's going on. But it's my understanding that there's not going to be wholesale deliveries. There's not going to be a lot of pickups and stuff like that. Those were my main concerns. We live on a cul-de-sac, as you can see by the map, and we want to keep it a quiet street like that. So those were my main concerns, and it sounds like this is going to be a wonderful service. And I just want to make sure that it's not going to evolve into some other kind of service eventually, that it will stay the kind of plan that the conditional use permit is for.
And we will discuss that in the actionable item, but right now we're just being public, so.
Okay, that was my concern, just, pickups, deliveries, traffic, and it doesn't sound like that is going to be an issue with this type of permit.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your testimony, Ms. Schmidt.
Thank you.
All right, was there anyone else wishing to speak on this item? Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Let the record reflect that no one came forward, and this public hearing is now closed. Moving on to agenda item number 7, consideration with possible action on the request to authorize a conditional use permit for a home-based occupation in a low-density residential R1 district at 1018 Rolling Green Drive, submitted by Phillip and Rita Spunard, property owners.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll just give you some of the basics in the background. Again, this is subject property located in red outline, north of Mason Street, east of Hillcrest. This is the city's future land use comprehensive plan. It's a low-density residential area. You mainly find single-family homes in this particular neighborhood. Corresponding zoning is the same, low-density residential R1. This is a drawing provided by the applicant for permitting. This kind of shows the expansion of the garage area. So this is the existing garage on a single-family home. They had originally been proposing a 720 square foot addition, although they sized that back to meet the current requirements of the home-based occupation. But this space would include 3 residential grade ovens or stoves here and some wash bays, as well as a bathroom and an office space. So when staff initially saw this, we felt this use was almost too intensive under the home-based occupation. There's also components here that our plumbing inspectors have considered this kind of a commercial type kitchen from a plumbing perspective, based on the meals that they're going to be preparing out of here. The plumber felt that was plans basically requiring a grease trap. So that is something beyond the scope of the Plan Commission and the CUP, but I want to bring that to your attention. That's something the applicant will have to contend with. As I mentioned before, there's several conditions that are included in the home-based occupation that's attached within your report.
They are meeting many of the other requirements, again, by sizing back this addition here to be compliant. The other issue that came up was in meal preparations. The staff reached out to Brown County Health. Typically with any sort of food preparation or meal preparation, the county health department has some oversight. But the applicants have a 501c status, and it's been the comments of Brown County Health that they can't issue a license. So they are somewhat exempt in that perspective. We did notify affected property owners, as mentioned before. There were no calls or questions. We did talk to Alder Brunette about this. He did leave me a message today that he's in support of the request. Staff is also in support of the request, but we have about 5 conditions I just want to kind of run through real quickly. First one is compliance with all the regulations of the Green Bay Municipal Code, not covered under the CUP, as well as all the other applicable requirements of the home-based occupation. Item B, if the proposed use ends or the ownership of the property is changed, the approval shall cease immediately. So this really is a use that is strictly for the current property owners. This use would not continue on with the change of ownership. It's strictly for the current property owners. Item C, there shall be no direct retail distribution, no wholesale food deliveries, and no meals served or distributed on premise. The applicant did provide a narrative. They voluntarily did that, but we want to include that as a condition. Again, this is not a restaurant. This is something that we distributed on-site and not offered on-site. Item D, on an annual basis, the applicant receives a substantially compliant special advisory inspection from Brown County Health. As I mentioned before, staff has been talking to Brown County Health about this. They technically have no jurisdiction, but I did reach out to them last week, and because of the number of meals that are prepared, they're willing to do this special advisory inspection. I don't have a lot of details about it, but it may include simply an annual inspection where someone has oversight on this from a health sanitary perspective to take a look. I did suggest this to the applicant. I don't believe there were any concerns from the applicant, but I guess I'll wait to hear from them on that. And finally, the home-based occupation may be subject to review on a yearly basis. Sometimes we have this language when there is concerns or a use that's maybe more intensive than we typically see. This would just kind of cover us in the sense that if we do receive complaints from neighbors, if there's litter problems, there's some other issues that we see that the Plan Commission, ultimately the council can come back and review the CUP and consider revoking it, although I hope that's not the case here, but it's the language we wanted to build in just for some additional protection. So with that, we are recommending approval of the item.
Thank you, Paul. Was there any discussion amongst the commission?
I move to approve subject to the conditions proposed.
Second. Any further discussion?
Just to echo the comment made by multiple people, this is really awesome that you guys are doing this. It's really sounds like it's going to be a great benefit to the people who need it in our community. Thank you.
Yeah, it's amazing. Thank you so much.
And delightful to hear the support from your neighbors too.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we just want to reiterate too that although it was stated before, this is our next step to serve as many people as we possibly can. I'm certified safe food handler and sanitary certification. We understand that we don't want to be doing this in our residential kitchen. We want it to be in a proper environment, and especially with COVID, we wanted to be proactive, and that's why we saw on the plan the 4-bay sanitary sink. There's not too many residential kitchens that have commercially equipped. Little did we know that if we had put that in there, that it would draw further attention to us in a negative light from its looking commercial. We never wanted to be commercial. All we wanted to do is be safe and handle food properly, and we intend to do that until we can't do it in this property any longer, which would force us, and willingly on our part, because that means we're able to more people, we would move into a commercial site, which would, give us more opportunity. So as long as we can do it out of our home, do it safely, do it properly, not infringe on the privacy actions of any of our neighbors, we're more than willing to do that. We fall in love more in Green Bay. I'm born and raised in Green Bay. I lived here my entire life. And originally our plan called for a food truck. So that plan has been put on hold only because we need to stay here in Green Bay. The need is here in Green Bay. And COVID has hit us upside the head with a brick to prove that. So we thank you for Paul and all the time that he's put in, and Jesse Burnett, and all of the people that have shown support.
Thank you so much.
It means a lot.
Go ahead with the roll call vote. We have a motion by Commissioner Perkowski and a second by Alder Corpus Dax. Is that correct? I remember.
Alder Stoyer wanted to say something though.
Yeah, I'll only take a second. I just want to reiterate what the commissioner said. I think this is a great project, and I'm on city council. I will support this wholeheartedly as well. So, Godspeed. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so going ahead, voting on approval with the conditions listed. Vice Chair Mill.
Aye.
Alder Corpus Dax.
Aye.
Commissioner Bremer.
Aye.
Commissioner Petrowski.
Aye.
Commissioner Daniels.
Aye.
Commissioner Linsmeyer. And I will also vote in favor, so unanimously approving to move ahead to City Council on November 10th.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And moving on to item number 8, public hearing on a request to repeal Chapter 13-1716E Green Bay zoning code regarding game day parking.
You're probably thinking that we already approved this. So the backstory is we took a proactive step a couple months ago to amend game day parking, and it was really limited to single-family, two-family uses. And the proactive nature was to expand that to all zoning districts. So we went through that process. The Planning Commission approved it. The council also approved it. And what ended up happening is we added a new section, so to speak, to the ordinance. We forgot and found out later that we left the other section there without actually repealing it. So this is really a kind of a cleanup measure. We're repealing the original language that dealt with just one and two-family uses. We're keeping the other language that we intended for all zoning districts. So this is, again, just a straightforward cleanup and just an error we didn't anticipate.
Okay, thank you. Well, this is the public hearing, so.
Oh, that's right.
But I appreciate your
my eagerness.
Okay, so public hearing. Taking testimony for any interested parties that are in favor of this proposal. Is there anyone in opposition? And is there anyone wishing to provide information only? Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Let the record reflect that no one came forward and this public hearing is now closed. And moving on to agenda item last week, number 9, consideration with possible action on a request to repeal Chapter 13-1716E Green Bay zoning code regarding game day parking.
You recommend approval based on the comments in the public hearing.
Motion to approve.
All right.
Second.
All right. So we have a motion by Alder Corpus Dax, by Vice Chair Miller. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go on to a roll call vote. Vice Chair Miller.
Aye.
Alder Corpus Dax.
I've been in a meeting since 3 o'clock, so you'll understand my eagerness.
Oh, man. Commissioner Bremer?
Aye.
Commissioner Petrowski?
Aye.
Commissioner Daniels?
Aye.
Commissioner Linsmeyer?
Aye.
And I will also vote in favor, so unanimous. This is that forward. And on to item number 10. Consideration with possible action on the request to vacate the remaining portions of 8th Street submitted by James S. Commissarek.
So, yeah, this is my agenda item. Did you want me to just go ahead with it? Because I do believe we also have the applicant on the line as well.
Why don't you go ahead and give us the overview of the item, and then we can decide whether we want to open it up or we need to open it up to public.
Sure. So this request to vacate the remaining portions of Leaf Street would be on the first diagram to the left, the yellow rectangle to the west of Locust, and Mr. Commissarek, I hope I'm saying that right, he owns parcel 61677, which is in pink, and so a little bit of history about it. There is no access to the applicant's property, as Leaf Street has already been partially vacated. So the southern portion, and you can see kind of from the right white and black diagram, the southern portion of Leaf Street has been already vacated. The proposed right-of-way was intended to be created in 1950, I believe. However, the street was never fully completed. There's no infrastructure. It was abandoned. And so basically, parcels 61677 all the way to 61680 have no access. The only difference is those 3 parcels actually are the same owners that own in front on Locust, whereas our applicant in the pink square, his parcel has a different owner in front, and he's actually approached that owner who is not interested in purchasing the behind parcel. So there's no access to his property, and it's landlocked. The vacated portions would be removed from the public right-of-way and be transferred to the adjoining parcels. The southern portion was vacated in 2003. So we're just doing some cleanup as the applicant has come forward with this request. And it is his intention, I believe, if this request does go through, to join his parcel and gift that to the Fort Howard Memorial Park, that cemetery kind of located behind him. So the future land use is actually very similar to the existing and current zoning. So you have the public cemetery behind, you have some commercial and low density residential and park space, and you can already see that kind of Leaf Street behind. Now it is important to mention, because I was a little bit confused, that strip of commercial behind it, but that is actually owned by the cemetery. You can go on to the next slide. So here we still have the surrounding properties are R3 and R1 to the north, so that's the cemetery, park, and residential. And then R1, both south and east, which is single family residential. And then to the west again is that R3, and that's the cemetery. And you can see the proposed vacation. So here's the street view and the aerial from Google Earth. Thomas Street would be if you're looking straight at Leaf Street. So you can see there is zero infrastructure, and it was an idea that was entertained and planned back in the 50s and early 2000s. It was decided to kind of go out the window with that idea. So the request is to move forward and vacate the remainder of the street. And you can see on the star in the bottom right, that is kind of the area that's left that is Leaf Street, but there's nothing there and no access or right of way. So the recommendation by staff is to approve the request and vacate the entire Leaf Street. Something that we've discussed probably should have been done 20 years ago, but we're here doing some cleanup thanks to the applicant's request.
Thank you, Addison. Were there any questions? Go ahead, Alder Sawyer.
Thank you, Chair. I'm the alder in that area. It's been an interesting dynamic over the years, but I just wanted to double check with Madison as far as that piece of property. So you're saying that that will be deeded over to the cemetery? Did I hear that correctly?
I think that's the intended future decision with that. But right now it's just the relinquish without any restrictions to the property owner. So I believe it would be transferred to the adjoining parcels, and he wants to combine his and gift it to the cemetery, I believe.
Okay, because I noticed the the parcels to the north. There's two parcels. There's a set of 2, 4, 6 parcels, and you're saying the people that live on Locust also own the parcel behind them?
Correct.
Touching Leaf, so they have 2 parcels that they're paying on. So was there any talk of them also getting that small portion of Leaf Street as well? I guess I just needed to clarify that.
As of right now, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, David or Stephanie, but that it would be transferred to the adjoining parcels. I know I have had discussion with one of the residents just about combining their 2 parcels between Leaf and Locust, because in general it makes very little sense because they would not be able to sell the back property.
Well, I'm in favor of it being vacated, but it'll be interesting to see how that develops. But right now we're just looking to vacate it, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
That would be a different application in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Were there any other questions or, I guess, discussion amongst the commission? So I guess I am a little bit confused. I mean, we're saying that it doesn't have, it has no access.
Correct.
But we're not creating it, are we?
No.
Okay. And I think what Alder Sawyer is saying is that if you go back, I guess if someone could go back to the picture of the map with those 3 properties to the north, did we contact those 3 property owners to see if they wanted to, basically have 3 properties in a line? Yeah, like
they have all been,
not the north coast, that real big section, but the first properties where they could expand their yards. I mean, I don't know if that's something that we typically will offer.
If I could cut in.
Go ahead.
Sure.
So when we vacate property in the city, it gets split in half. So right down the middle, it gets split. Half of it will go to the cemetery. The other half gets attached to the adjoining parcel. So in the instance of the pink highlighted parcel, he is interested in donating his entire area to the cemetery. The cemetery will also get the western half of that station. And then each of the 3 property owners on the east side will get a small portion of to their rear parcel.
Okay, perfect. All right, that's
That's how it's just done verbatim. If they want something different, they can also dedicate over to the cemetery if they're interested, but just by right, it'll get split in half and attached.
Okay. All right, thank you so much, Steph. Was there any other discussion amongst the commission? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
This is Commissioner Bremer. I move to approve.
Second. All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Bremer, second by Alder Corpus Dax. Any other discussion? Hearing none, go ahead with the roll call vote. Vice Chair Miller.
Aye.
Alder Corpus Dax. Aye. Commissioner Bremer.
Aye.
Commissioner Petrowski.
Aye.
Commissioner Daniels,
Aye.
Commissioner Linsmeyer,
Aye.
and I will also vote in favor. So unanimously moving ahead to council on November 10th. And on to item number 11. Consideration with possible action on approval of the Downtown Green Bay Incorporated Business Improvement District Operating Plan for 2021.
Thank you, Chair. So for the next 4 items, you have the operating plans for all of our bids. By their guidelines and handbook, the Plan Commission is required to review and approve those. So we do have some of these board representations here. Some are conflicted with other meetings. So we can go in order. Each needs to, they have the opportunity to present their operating plan if they are interested in doing so. This should be a very brief presentation. And then from there, you need to approve each of them individually. The following 4 items are their approval of new committee members or reappointment of committee members, and we will take those up separately as well. So for the next 4 items, Lisa, if you just wanted to introduce each of them, vote on them in order, and then the bid representation will take care of the presentations for these.
Okay, so we're voting first and then here's proposal?
No. I mean, like have each of them do their own. I know sometimes in the past we've collectively approved them all together, but we'd like to approve them all individually as agenda items.
Okay, so when we're not going to lump like 11 with 15 or anything like that?
Yes, exactly. We'll do operating plans first, and then we'll move on to.
So number 11, we're starting with the bid operating plan for DGBI.
Yes, and I wanted to, Madam Chair, we have Jenny Vanden Langenberg speaking on behalf. Jeff Merkis has a conflict this evening. Thank you.
Okay.
Hello, thank you. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to review the operating plan for DGBI. And as you can imagine, this year was a lot of fun making plans in the late summer and fall of this year for all of 2021. So we, like everyone else, has had our challenges trying to figure out what's going to be happening. But we do feel confident that we have a good plan going forward. We do plan on retaining the 7 staff members that we have. The activities within our bid really fall into 4 different categories. Mainly business development, which we figure will be the most important thing in 2021. Definitely focusing on being a resource to all of our businesses that are impacted by COVID-19. And we're also planning on having the business development people on our team working closely with our marketing team to make sure we get out there all those available properties and just keep things very up to date so that we can keep the business thriving in our district. Another thing we're focusing on is physical improvements, knowing that we want to do a lot of placemaking, making downtown Green Bay a great place for people to visit and to live and to want to work there, and really continuing to focus on our first impressions and hoping to make some cool things happen in 2021. Marketing is the third pillar, and we'll keep moving on, and adapting as we need to. Not as much print advertising this year, can't do brochures, but we did learn how to really focus a lot on our digital media, and we'll continue to do that into 2021. Our fourth pillar is events. That I would say is the wild card next year, but we are ready to go with our team in putting on events that will continue them in a safe way. This year we were able to continue our farmers market. It was very successful, all things considered, and we have a definite plan going forward. We know that works this year. Could continue that into next year, but hopefully things will be better and a little bit back to normal. So as far as the bid revenues coming in next year, we're looking at very similar amounts to what we anticipated in 2021. So nothing major on the income or expense side that's going to be very changing a lot from what we've had in the past. So does anyone have any questions?
Okay, so I guess the chair would entertain a motion.
I'm delighted with the plan, and I move to approve it.
Second. Motion by Commissioner Bremer, second by Alder Corpustat. Any further discussion? All right, and a roll call vote, Vice Chair Miller?
Aye.
Alder Corpustat?
Aye.
Commissioner Bremer?
Aye.
Commissioner Petrowski?
Aye.
Commissioner Daniels?
Aye.
Commissioner Litzmeyer?
Aye.
I'll also vote in favor. Unanimously move that forward. And moving on to then item 12, the consideration with possible action on approval of the Old Main Street Incorporated Business District Operating Plan.
Okay, and I will also speak to that. So Old Main Street shares the same staff as downtown Green Bay. So again, those same 4 pillars that I already mentioned. And the bid revenues that we anticipate coming in for Old Main Street are just slightly higher than they were in 2021. So we're glad that they're not anticipated to come in lower. Our plan and budget look very similar year over year. And I guess I'm going to say the same thing I said for downtown Green Bay with what we're focusing on. With an addition in Old Main Street, it's the Arts District. So we really want to put as much focus on the arts as we possibly can in that district and try to bring more things, create more fun places in that district that focus on art. We have very strong partnerships with Sage and the Art Garage and the NWTC Artisan Center, really working well together right now with all those entities, and just so really making sure some good things happen in the next year in that district.
Thank you so much. Go ahead, Commissioner Bremer.
2 quick questions. What do you have in mind for a loyalty program? I wasn't sure.
Sure, that is something we're looking at. There have been a few new businesses that opened up on Old Main Street very recently, actually. A few new kind of pub and grill or pizza places on Main Street, and they're kind of all in a row. And we were thinking, kind of toying around with the idea of having a program, like a punch card program, between those places. That if you go to certain ones and patronize them, that there'd be some kind of a reward. So it's just one of those ideas that's getting looked into at this point.
Great. And how did you manage to lower your administrative costs by almost $10,000?
That is a very good question. What happened there is that in the year 2020, this year, our organization did apply for the PPP funds from the federal government, and we did receive some funds for our staff. And it's a kind of a complicated metrics on how we pay, how Old Main Street works with downtown Green Bay, but downtown Green Bay technically houses all the employees. And so, and then Old Main Street pays for a portion of that. So we ended up taking some of those funds that we received from, for the COVID help, and gave Old Main Street their portion. And so that's why we decided let's deduct it for one year's worth of what Old Main Street usually pays downtown Green Bay. And so we put that in the budget for 2021. I hope I explained that well.
And you have been able to maintain all the positions as well.
We have, yes, and we anticipate if everything goes as planned, that we can hold on to those positions in the next year.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I had a quick question as well in regards to the new businesses that are coming up. Have you guys addressed parking, or do you think parking would be in a normal year with no COVID? Would there be parking concerns for those businesses, or do we have ample parking?
Are you talking about the businesses in the Old Main Street district?
Yes.
A lot of the ones that are new do have the parking right next to the building or behind the buildings on Old Main Street, so it hasn't been a big concern as of right now. So yeah, they seem to, be really excited about opening up and really successful so far. The Crown and Common is open, and they have that big parking lot right next to it. So kind of where these are located, they seem to be working out okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I would certainly entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Where did the second come from?
Good.
Oh, okay, all right, so we have a motion by Commissioner Petrowski and a second by Commissioner Bremer. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, Vice Chair Miller?
Aye.
Alder Corpus-Deck? Commissioner Bremer?
Aye.
Commissioner Petrowski? I'm gonna guess if you said aye.
Aye, yeah.
Oh, yes.
You did.
Commissioner Daniel?
Aye.
And Commissioner Linsmeyer?
Aye.
And I'll also vote in favor of moving that item forward. Moving on to item number 13, consideration with possible action on approval of the On Broadway Incorporated Business Improvement District Operating Plan for 2021. And I'm guessing
Elizabeth's here, if you'd like to speak to that.
Sorry, Wendy, it looked like you were chiming in to say something, so I was waiting. Okay. Hello, everybody. Brian Johnson with On Broadway. So our organization is experienced quite an interesting year. Our business improvement district is not quite as substantial, and there's two reasons for that. One is we have a mill rate that's quite a bit lower than the state average, and the other reason is because the total assessable value of the properties in our district is not as high. And so, unfortunately, our organization is heavily dependent on events. In fact, 94% of our budget is tied to the revenue generated from those events and sponsorships that support them. So when you cut out the events, you cut out the revenue. Now, we did experience a little bit of revenue from the farmers market, but that was really more of a break even and, quite frankly, probably a losing proposition for us this year. But other than that, we really haven't had anything. So we're going to see, probably a total revenue reduction of about 85% this year. And unfortunately, as a result, we had a staff of 6. We're basically down to me. And our office manager works a couple hours a week, and even I'm furloughed and salary reduction on top of it. So we do what we can with what we have left. Unfortunately, a lot of our efforts have been more internally focused this year than what we would like, meaning how we ensure our survival of the pandemic. And that's one of those things where we are actually very near to running out of funding. And so as a result, we're going to launch a crowdfunding campaign here in the next week or two. And then, of course, we're going to be looking to the business community to help support our operation. We're estimating that we will need to raise approximately $100,000 just to keep our doors open before the end of, from now until the end of May. And then our hope, of course, is that events will be able to be executed next year, and then we can start generating income that way again. So as a result, when the Business Improvement District Board put together their plan this year, they recognize the hardship that the organization is going through. They want to see us survive, and that's why you see in the plan that we haven't allocated funding towards different items as we have in the past. Instead, it's saying, here, take the assessment and keep your doors open. And that's covering salary and some other overhead operating costs like rent. So that's where we're at as an organization. We'll figure out how to get through this. I think that's what good organizations do. We have a wonderful board behind us that's really committed to our long-term success. But unfortunately, in the short term, what that means is that we've had to cut all of our non-essential services. So that'll include things, like seasonal decor and our public art initiatives that we had budgeted for this year. Even doing some of the events that we consider loss leaders.
meaning that we don't generate income on the event, but we do them to bring foot traffic down here. It's kind of in direct conflict with what you want to be doing in a pandemic right now. So it's really kind of a wait and see game right now, and we continue to help and assist our businesses more on a one-on-one basis, while still continually applying for grants and doing fundraising for our own operation. A little bit of tale of two cities.
Okay, thank you so much, Brian. Any discussion amongst the commission? Well, the chair would entertain a motion.
All right. Now that I put you guys in a satisfactorily somber mood, we'll get through this. It's not that bad. I want you guys to be happy. Come support the businesses during the holiday shopping season. They really need you.
Absolutely. Motion to approve?
So moved.
All right, was that a motion by Alder Corbett?
Yep.
And a second by Commissioner Daniels? Any further discussion? All right. Vice Chair Miller?
Aye.
Alder Corbett?
Aye.
Commissioner Brummer?
Aye.
Commissioner Petrowski?
Aye.
Commissioner Daniels?
Aye.
Commissioner Linsmeyer?
Aye.
And I'll also vote in favor of moving that agenda item forward. And moving on to item number 14, consideration with possible action on approval of the Military Avenue Business Association Business Improvement District Operating Plan for 2021.
Leah is on the line.
Hi, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hi, Leah. Yep.
Hi. So I don't have to tell any of you what a strange year this was for event planning and the bids. Like Brian said, all of the bids are structured very differently. So we weathered very well, and having just a single staff person wasn't too much of a problem for us. The farmers market actually did very well, I think, because we were kind of the down and dirty farmers market, in and out. People were looking for that kind of service this year versus, a celebration. It was more about getting your produce and getting out. So our model was helpful for us this year, and we saw over 100% increase in EBT sales, which is the food support program. And there were several grants that we were able to get through WELLO and the different health groups, and that really helped drive a real diverse group to our farmers market, excuse me, which was different than normal years. And that was really good to see, because I think we've always wanted to do that, really be, just a true farmers market. We are continuing to stay outside even through November 19th is the plan. So we hope we don't freeze to death, but because of COVID, we probably will not conduct our indoor winter market, but really push an online service instead. One of the things in our operating plan from last year was doing a strategic plan and talking about public amenities and things, and that never happened. That involved gathering people, and of course that didn't happen for COVID reasons. So we're going to continue to move forward with that and just select things ourselves. As we go forward, we're going to work with the Green Bay Transportation Department on benches, and they've already put one up, and they run into problems where they don't have enough money. So I think combined, the two of us can work together and pay for cement and the benches for all of the bus stops. There's many bus stops on Military Avenue. So the operating plan this year kind of recommends added the new piece of health and safety. I worked a lot with the businesses this year. Several of our businesses are foreign owned, and so they really struggle with some of the language in our government grants, things like that. So I was able to walk them through with we're all in grants through the state, and
Currently doing that with round 2, that's due at midnight tonight. Just set up 90% match. So that's going for, that's really the only new thing we added to the operating plan. Our revenue is projected slightly higher, but also increased for delinquent payment due to the fact that some businesses are definitely struggling. In the whole strange year that we had, there were actually like 5 or 6 new businesses that popped up. Some are already gone, and some never really opened. So it's hard to know, and I watch them and try to go over and see the people, and like they're never there, so it's really hard to get a hold of them. But I think again, people are waiting for this to be over so that they can really open their businesses. But we definitely had a couple of businesses and closed, so that's a good sign. We are also wrapping one of our utility boxes. The weather got cold so fast, like yes, I was so hoping to this fall, but waited too long. We're still planning to hold Saturday and really quick assistance to small business to try to get some business in our weird retail clients. So if anyone has questions, I would entertain.
If I could, Leah, I'm curious as to how you propose to handle the assessment delinquencies that seem to be increasing under obvious circumstances.
Yeah, that's sort of out of our control. It falls on the city then. I believe it gets assessed to their tax roll.
Okay.
So if they vacate the property, then it would go to the owner of the property.
Your plan also referred to the list of assessments, Appendix C, but I did not see one attached.
Oh, yeah, because we got it like right when I was sending it in, the city was just releasing it from us. So that's where I talk about the number increasing slightly. And that would have to do with evaluation of the property values versus us changing any. So the same assessments were, it's like $2 per 1,000 value. None of that changed. That was all the same. So the increase that we're looking at due to the increase in property values.
Okay. I appreciate that you and the other directors are all paying attention to the impact of COVID and using the opportunity to work one-on-one with your people. Seems like a very
yeah, but request big number.
Yep.
Okay. Go ahead, Alder Steyer. You'll have to unmute yourself, though.
Let's try that. I've only been up for 6 hours here. I just wanted to thank Leah for her efforts on Military Avenue, which goes through our district, and I meet with her quite a bit, and we're always talking about initiatives and ways to improve the district. So, I just want to give kudos to her and her group, and the farmers markets are all great, and I'm looking forward to a better year next year. Thank you.
I think we all are.
Yeah.
If it brings coming up for the rest of this week anyhow.
Right. Our Thursday market will be very good.
Great. I'd like to move approval.
Second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Bremer, second by Commissioner Petrowski. Any further discussion? All right, roll call vote. Vice Chair Mills.
Aye.
Alder Corbett.
Aye.
Commissioner Bremer.
Aye.
Commissioner Petrowski.
Aye.
Commissioner Daniels.
Aye.
Commissioner Linsmeyer.
Aye.
And I will also vote in favor of the operating plan. And moving on to item number 15. Consideration with possible action on the 2021 nominations to the Downtown Green Bay Incorporated Business District Board as approved by the DGBI bid board.
Thank you, Chair. For all the appointments, if you've been on Planning Commission for a while, this might look different for you. Previously, the mayor had approved them, so we had resumes, applications, and then we were the final approving body. The mayor has now switched them, so he will receive applications and resumes after from the Planning Commission. So there are no resumes in your package, just names and recommendations. We are recommending as staff approval of all these appointments. We should need no presentation for these items, but if any of the directors wanted to speak on any of these appointments, you may do so when your agenda item is called.
Okay. So working first with the DGBI bid board nominee. And are we going to hear from Ms. Langenberg on this? Or do we not need to hear on anyone at all? We can just...
You don't need to. If anyone does have anything to say, feel free to raise your hand or something, but usually the appointments are just done by consensus voting.
Okay. So I entertain motion then.
Move to approve.
Second. It's motion by Commissioner Petrowski, second by Alder Corpustak. And roll call vote, Vice Chair Miller.
Aye.
Alder Corpustak. Aye. Commissioner Bremer.
Aye.
Commissioner Petrowski.
Aye.
Commissioner Daniels.
Aye.
Commissioner Meyer.
Aye.
I'll vote in favor of the nominations. All right, and moving on to item number 16, which is consideration with possible action on the 2021 nominations to the Old Main Street Incorporated Business Improvement District Board as approved by the OMSI bid board. Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Alder Corpustak and a second by Commissioner Petrowski. Any further discussion? And roll call vote, Vice Chair Miller.
Aye.
Alder Corpustak. Aye. Commissioner
Aye.
Commissioner Petrowski.
Aye.
Commissioner Daniels.
Aye.
Commissioner Meyer.
Aye.
And we'll also vote in favor of the motion. Moving on to item 17, consideration with possible action on the 2021 nominations to the On Broadway Incorporated Business Improvement District Board as approved by the OBI bid board.
I can just comment.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, just two things, and I don't know if they're Scrivener's errors or maybe an oversight, but one is Brent Peters is with Schneider, not Schreiber Foods. And the other item, Stephanie Bross is listed here as a 3-year term. Our terms are staggered. And her term technically expired a year ago, so this should really be like a 2-year appointment to align with, the duration of that term.
Okay.
Sorry,
go ahead.
Comments as amendments to what we have before us, I move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Bremer, second by Commissioner Petrowski. Any further discussion? And roll call vote, Vice Chair Miller.
Aye.
Alder Corpustak.
Aye.
Commissioner Bremer.
Aye.
Commissioner Petrowski.
Aye.
Commissioner Daniels.
Aye.
Commissioner Linsmeyer.
Aye.
And I'll also vote in favor of the nominations with the corrections made. And item number 18. Consideration with possible action on the 2021 nominations to the Military Avenue Business Association Business Improvement District Board as approved by the MABA bid board. Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion by Alder Corpustak, second by Commissioner Bremer. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go ahead with the vote. Vice Chair Miller.
Aye.
Alder Corpustak.
Aye.
Commissioner Bremer.
Aye.
Commissioner Petrowski.
Aye.
Commissioner Daniels.
Aye.
Commissioner Linsmeyer.
Aye.
And I will also vote in favor of the nominations for item number 18. Moving on to informational. Number 1, Director's Report.
I feel like I've jinxed the planning commission. I don't remember the meetings ever being this long under Director Bonk. I apologize for whatever I'm doing. I just wanted to mention one thing is that I think we were going to bring the housing study to this meeting, but we saw the agenda was super long. So I think at our next plan commission meeting, we want to bring that housing study to you. You're welcome.
Thank you, Cheryl.
So we can talk about that more then, and I think that's about it. That's enough, right?
Yes, that sounds great. And the date of the next meeting is Monday, November 23rd, 2020. And I just
Motion to adjourn?
Yes, please. Second on that? Second. Oh, I second. Great. All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Yeah. Bye. All right, we'll see you guys on the 23rd.
All right, happy election.
Don't forget your vote. Are you done?
Are you done?
All right.
Goodbye.